The blood was still warm when Detective Sarah Chun arrived at the Rutherford Academy Banquet Hall at 11:47 p.m. The once elegant venue now resembled a horror scene, with overturned chairs scattered across the polished floor and champagne glasses shattered like deadly confetti. 5 bodies lay motionless among the wreckage, their eyes frozen in permanent shock. What should have been a joyful class reunion had transformed into a massacre that would haunt the small town of Millfield for years to come. But this wasn't a random act of violence. This was personal, calculated, and the killer had been hiding in plain sight all along. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and tell us in the comments where in the world you're tuning in from. Now let's begin. The 911 call came in at 11:32 p.m. from a terrified catering worker who had returned to collect forgotten serving trays. Her voice, trembling and barely coherent, reported what she could only describe as carnage. When first responders arrived, they found 5 former classmates dead. Tyler Voss, the reunion's MC, slumped over the microphone with a knife protruding from his back. Brooks Whitman lay crumpled near the bar, her diamond earrings scattered across the blood-soaked carpet. Chase Morrison was found face down by the photo booth, his expensive blazer torn and stained crimson. But it was the scene on stage that truly chilled investigators. 2 more victims, Haley Roman and another classmate, were positioned deliberately, almost ceremoniously, beneath a glowing projector screen that displayed a single, haunting message: justice served. The killer had vanished into the night, leaving behind only questions and a trail of methodical brutality that suggested this wasn't their first time taking a life. Detective Chun had seen her share of violent crimes during her 15 years on the force, but something about this scene felt different. The precision of the kills, the calculated positioning of the bodies, the symbolic message on screen. This wasn't passion or rage. This was retribution, served cold and deliberate. The investigation began with the guest list. 23 former students from Rutherford Academy's class of 2018 had attended the reunion. 18 had fled in terror when the screaming started. 5 were dead, and one name kept surfacing in every interview: Marcus Greene. The survivors painted a disturbing picture of the evening's events. Multiple witnesses described how Marcus, once the quiet, bullied outsider of their high school class, had made a dramatic revelation during the reunion. He wasn't the failure they remembered. He was now worth over $100 million as the CEO of a successful tech company. The very classmates who had mocked him for years discovered they had been celebrating in a hall he had secretly funded. "He was so calm," whispered Jennifer Walsh, her voice still shaking 3 days after the attack. Even when Tyler was making jokes about him on stage, Marcus just sat there, watching, like he was studying us. The revelation of Marcus's success had stunned the room into silence. Former bullies found themselves face to face with their victim's triumph. But according to witnesses, Marcus had simply walked out after his announcement, leaving his former tormentors to process their shame. That's when the killing began. Security footage from the parking lot showed Marcus leaving the building at 10:15 p.m., a full hour and 17 minutes before the murders took place. He was captured on multiple cameras driving away in his modest sedan, seemingly ending his involvement in the evening. But Detective Chin knew that in cases like this, things were rarely as simple as they appeared. The breakthrough came when investigators discovered that Marcus had been living a double life for years. While building his tech empire, he had also been carefully tracking his former classmates through social media, learning their weaknesses, their failures, their fears. His company's advanced surveillance technology had given him access to their personal information, financial troubles, and most damaging secrets. But Marcus Greene wasn't the killer. The real murderer was someone much closer to the investigation than anyone suspected. Someone who had watched Marcus endure years of bullying and had nursed their own growing hatred for the perpetrators. Someone who had access to the crime scene and knew exactly when to strike. Dr. Linda Greene, Marcus's older sister and the town's respected forensic pathologist, had been harboring a deadly secret. She was the one who had encouraged her brother to attend a reunion, knowing it would provide the perfect opportunity for her carefully planned revenge. While Marcus revealed his success and left the building, Linda had remained hidden in the venue's service areas, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The forensic evidence was overwhelming once investigators knew where to look. Linda's medical expertise explained the precise, almost surgical nature of the killings. Her access to the coroner's office had allowed her to study crime scenes and perfect her methods. Most damning of all, DNA evidence found under Tyler Voss's fingernails matched Linda's genetic profile. Linda Greene had spent 5 years planning the perfect crime, using her brother's success story as the ideal cover. She knew that once Marcus revealed his wealth, he would become the obvious suspect. She had counted on investigators focusing on the bullied kid who had finally snapped, never suspecting that his loving sister was the one wielding the knife. During her interrogation, Linda showed no remorse. Her eyes burned with the same cold fury that had driven her to kill. "You didn't see what they did to him," she told Detective Chun. "Day after day, year after year. They destroyed a brilliant, kind boy and turned him into someone who had to hide his success because he couldn't trust the world not to hurt him again." She had watched her brother suffer in silence, building walls around his achievements, never celebrating his victories because he feared being torn down again. The reunion invitation had been the final insult, a chance for his tormentors to mock him one last time. Linda couldn't let that happen. They thought they could invite him just to humiliate him again, she continued, her voice steady and chilling. They never imagined that someone was watching. Someone who remembered every cruel word, every laugh at his expense. Someone who decided that enough was enough. The trial of Dr. Linda Greene became a sensation that divided the nation. Some viewed her as a vigilante hero who had finally given bullies what they deserved. Others saw her as a cold-blooded killer who had let her need for revenge consume her completely. The prosecution painted her as a calculating murderer who had used her medical knowledge and her brother's success to orchestrate the perfect crime. Marcus Greene, devastated by the revelation of his sister's crimes, testified for the prosecution. Through tears, he described how Linda had been his protector and best friend throughout his difficult school years. He had never suspected that her love for him had twisted into something so dark and dangerous. "I would have given up every dollar, every success, every achievement to have those 5 people still alive," Marcus said from the witness stand. "Nothing I accomplished was worth this. Nothing." The evidence was overwhelming. Linda Greene was convicted on 5 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the verdict was read, she showed no emotion, but those who looked closely could see a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. In her mind, justice had finally been served. The case exposed the devastating long-term effects of bullying and the dangerous lengths to which loved ones might go to protect those they care about. It also revealed how success and wealth mean nothing if they're built on a foundation of pain and isolation. Marcus Greene had achieved everything he had dreamed of, but the cost had been higher than he could have ever imagined. Today, Marcus uses his wealth to fund anti-bullying programs in schools across the country. He speaks openly about the importance of kindness and the lasting damage that cruel words can cause. He has never returned to Millfield, and the Rutherford Academy Banquet Hall was demolished 6 months after the murders. Linda Greene remains in maximum security prison, where she has become a model inmate. She spends her days in the prison library, reading medical journals and writing letters to her brother that he has never opened. Sometimes, late at night, other inmates report hearing her whisper the same words over and over. They got what they deserved. The case of the Silicon Valley Killer, as the media dubbed Linda Greene, serves as a chilling reminder that justice and vengeance are separated by the thinnest of lines. It shows us that love, when poisoned by hatred and left to fester, can transform even the most caring person into something monstrous. 5 former bullies paid the ultimate price for their cruelty, but in the end, justice wasn't served by their deaths. True justice would have been learning, growing, and making amends. Instead, their story ended in blood and tragedy, with a brilliant doctor trading her life and freedom for a few moments of deadly satisfaction. The survivors of that terrible night carry scars that will never heal, but they also carry a message. Words have power, kindness matters, and the boy you mock today might change the world tomorrow, or someone who loves him might decide that the world needs to change first. In the end, Linda Greene got exactly what she wanted. Her brother's bullies were silenced forever, and the world learned their names not as successful adults, but as victims of a revenge plot years in the making. Justice, in her twisted mind, had finally been served. If this story moved you or made you think about the power of our words and actions, smash that like button and subscribe for more true crime stories that reveal the darkest sides of human nature. Your support helps us continue bringing you these powerful, real-life tales of justice, revenge, and the thin line between them. See you in the next video.